do you actually think that it was rigged? I mean, if you put your hand on your heart, do you think there was any electoral fraud that took place?
No, I think it's far too complex for that to happen. There may be some votes here and there, but I don't think that 11, I think that would be virtually impossible.
So why do the Western sort of media seem to assume that fraud took place without perhaps necessary evidence to make that conclusion?
It's in such a closed society, particularly foreign journalists can't have access. It's difficult to prove, I accept that. But the response of the Iranian people, and to say it was fired up by what they were saying on Persian, like BBC Persian language broadcasts, is naive. There is an anger within. The problem is domestic. I would allow, historically, the British and the Americans have involved themselves, and the Americans are funding the Mujahideen and so forth. But the 98% of the problem is internal. They have to resolve that problem yourselves. I accept that. But to actually blame the BBC and to describe them as, as liars is an insult to the Iranian people. They're sophisticated. They know there's a domestic problem, and to kick out diplomats and so forth.
Yeah, it's fair to say, isn't it, that the actual demonstrations weren't articulated by foreign powers. I mean,
no, but I think there are two things. There is a genuine polarization of views that took place during this election, and that's why so many people went out to vote. I mean, more people went out to vote on both sides because it was polarized, and they actually saw the election close. But let's look at the evidence. There was two bases that we could judge. One was a poll which says that 2-1 it would have been in favor of Ahmadinejad, and then the election itself. Those only realities, was never really given its value on the Western media. And then also, when we're talking about this sort of irregularities, this sort of thing, I mean, why we never complain about the situation in Egypt? Before election, thousands of people are put in prison, and then 95%,
The candidate was put in jail for 3 years as well, who ran against President Mubarak. That's right.
And no one actually talks about the illegitimacy of that.
Listen, we've got someone in the audience now. Gentleman in the back row, please.
Yeah, my question to the panel is, especially to the panel consisting of journalists, maybe the media, Western media, is not unbiased, but are we seeing the Western media also give importance to the demonstrations in favor of President Ahmadinejad? I mean, are we seeing enough of that to give a sort of unbiased picture?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so, Paul, I mean, it's certainly true that the West picks and chooses which demonstrations it seems to support and be sort of cheerleading for, doesn't it? If you look around the world. I mean, do you think that in this case, they actually measured the mood correctly? I mean, there's been no demonstrations outside of Tehran, for example. There was a certain class of people, some people have called them the Twittering classes, who were actually out. No, I mean, do you think that they misread the mood of the Iranian people?
I think there was a dissent from the audience. I think it was a nationwide issue, whether it was people sending in information to the BBC, and I think there were some demonstrations, but obviously it focused on Tehran. I would say probably in the BBC, even though I would defend it as the best news organisation in the world, and I've never worked for them, there's a majority of people who probably read The Guardian and probably would prefer an orange-style or green-style revolution in Iran, probably as a private opinion. They want freedom. I mean, it just has come to some other countries. But I would say that it was balanced and fair. I mean, in terms of the accusations by the government that it was Western media who got up the killings of people and so forth. It is so. My question is Iran going to be better off under Ahmadinejad or worse? And there was so much hope for a change and so much better relationship with the region as well as the West, and that is to be destroyed.
Coming up to a break, a quick word from you, Professor. How would you answer that? Quickly, briefly, 30 seconds.
Well, again, I think the whole idea, the position that you're taking is the hope for change. Automatically, you're pointing out that there is a bias on one side. In other words, I said I didn't vote for Mr. Ahmadinejad, but what you're saying is he's the bad guy, and whatever stands against him is the good guy. I mean, I'm not, and I think that's the problem with the Western media in the first place.
I think it's a disaster for your country.
Paul, indeed, though. Look, we'll have a lot more to talk about in the second half, okay, and we'll be coming to that very shortly. But first of all, we'll take a short break. Back in a few moments for more of this topical debate. See you.